And finally, I'd like to offer you my way of thinking about creating a strategic story. It's what I call a charter. And charters include at least 6 elements: a mission statement, a vision statement, a value statement, a strategy, some operating goals, and then the question of who's going to make each of these decisions. So one way of thinking about this is a mission is the purpose for existence. In my experience, it should be one sentence. So Virginia Department of Transportation, keep Virginia moving. British Aerospace Systems in the United States, we protect those who protect us. Sallie Mae, we make education affordable for everyone. One sentence, short, to the point, crystal clear. And not a long laminated card, not something that you've asked a committee to come up with, because what a committee will do, they'll go off and study it for 6 months and come back and say, we deliver world-class goods and services that delight our customers beyond their expectations and deliver our investors an above industry average return on their investment. Might be true, might be carefully wordsmithed, but it's utterly meaningless. It's non-inspirational, it's not energizing, it's very vanilla and plastic, and it really won't motivate your people. The second piece is a vision. Vision, when we work with clients, they come in for a week and they leave at the end of the week with a charter. A vision is going to be longer, maybe 12 or 13 pages, because you're going to have a financial vision, where you want to be in 20 years, an operating vision, you're going to have a human resources vision, customer value and satisfaction vision. So for all of the disciplines in an organization, you say you pick the horizon, 20 years, okay, pick 20 years or 10, and say, what do we want to look like on each of those dimensions 20 years out? Now, many North American executives will laugh at this. They'll say, I can't even figure out what's happening in the next 6 months. So how am I going to develop a 10 or a 20-year vision? Well, if you're only going to focus on the next 6 months or 12 months, you're going to be living outside in, driving your business based on problem identification and solving. But if you have some clarity around what you're trying to create, going back to our discussion earlier in the program, then you can have the inside-out energy and motivation because you believe in something. Konosuke Matsushita, who founded Panasonic Electronics in Japan, Matsushita Denki, had 10 25-year plans, a vision that extended 250 years. He's dead, and they're still using those plans to drive their business. The third element of a charter is a set of VABES, principles by which you're going to manage your business. I have one client that has 24 of these. I think it's far too many. Stanford psychological research would suggest short-term memory for humans is about 5 to 7 items max. So this is probably going to be a half a page and maybe 5 to 7 VABES about how we're going to make decisions when we come to a decision point. We're not going to do this, we are going to do that, we're going to focus on customers or whatever it may be. And then fourth, we have strategy. So this is how are you going to get from today to your vision in the future. And when we work with clients, this is the biggest section. It might be 35 pages because you've got to have a financial strategy, a marketing strategy, an operations strategy, a customer satisfaction strategy, a human resources strategy, and so forth. So there will be a lot of detailed plans. There are going to be acquisitions involved, how much education is involved, how much investment in research and development for all of the different functions that you've outlined in your vision. Then you need a strategy for how you're going to get to each of those particular future desired end states. And then we look at short-term operating goals. These are the measures on your dashboard by which you're going to assess whether or not you're making progress. So you'll have financial goals, operating goals, human resource goals, customer satisfaction goals, and so forth. But be careful here because A, you could have too many. I know one plant manager who had 64 different measures, He said he felt like Gulliver. He was strapped down by the Lilliputians. He couldn't move left or right because he had so many constraints on his behavior. And you might actually set some goals that will be dysfunctional in that they will deliver the opposite of what you want. So I'm aware that there are a number of stories like this, but Mexico City had a pollution problem. The city fathers decided they needed to do something about that. So they made a law that if your license plate ended in an even number, you could drive on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If it ended in an odd number, you could drive on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And they said, we'll cut pollution in half. Well, what happened was, instead of carpooling, people went out and bought a second car. And because the average income in Mexico City was relatively low, the second car they bought was a clunker, and pollution doubled. So be careful what you measure. If you put the wrong measure in place, you might actually get the opposite result of what you were hoping to get. I have other stories that illustrate that, but you get the point. And then here's the issue. Who's going to make all of these decisions? Are you going to leave it to chance? Or is somebody going to say, here's what our mission is, here's where we're going, here are the principles by which we're going to make decisions, here are our strategic choices, and here's what we're going to measure as we move along. So I believe that a charter is a great way of organizing your strategic thinking. It's a way of deciding who you are, where you want to go, how you want to get there, what your ethical standards are going to be, and what you're going to measure. And if you can't, I say, if you can't clarify those things for yourself, for your department, for your division, for your company, or for your country, you're negligent. It's the leader's job to clarify purpose, vision, values, strategy, and goals. And if you can't do that, if you can't put a stake in the ground, then I'd say you're not doing your job. Now, again, I believe that can happen at multiple levels, so the starting point may well be, do you have a charter for your life? Have you decided at your current age, whatever that may be, 30, 40, 50, 60, what your purpose in life is? Will you figure that out before you die? Or are you going to live outside in and let other people make those decisions for you? Same for your company. Have you decided what the purpose of your company is? And if it's to make as much money as possible, beware. I'm so tired of that discussion over the last 40 years of people who say, well, gee, you're an idiot, you're an ivory-towered academic, you don't understand. The purpose of business is to make money. Yes, well, let me invite you to think about the difference between a culture of extraction on one hand and a culture of contribution on the other hand. In a culture of extraction, people are looking to figure out how much they can take from the system. In my experience, I've seen people at all socioeconomic levels participate in a culture of extraction. They're always trying to figure out how to take, not what they're going to give or deliver or offer in return. The alternative is a culture of contribution, where people say, I'm going to give a fair day's work for a fair day's wage. In fact, I might do a little bit better. I'm going to leave my campsite better than I found it. I'm going to make a contribution to society on all fronts, not just taking out as much as I possibly can, and whatever the results may be can go hang. So it seems to me that in large parts of the world, we have developed cultures of extraction on the one hand, and in smaller places, cultures of contribution, where people are concerned about giving more than they take. And as the world becomes increasingly dense, I think this dichotomy is going to be an important thing to manage from a strategic point of view. And if businesses don't do that on their own, then governments will be forced to regulate and manage them. So this notion of capitalism being based on men of good character making self-serving decisions, we often overlook the good character part and say, wait a minute, it's not just about how much you can take, but it's how much you can take in the context of what you've given to the people around you. I invite you to be thinking about that as you make your strategic plans.